Shalom. Okay. Sorry I can't be there today or tomorrow, depending if you're standing. If you're me or you. If it's me, it's tomorrow. If it's you, it's today. We're going to be looking at our Chumash sugya. This is sugya number 23. You should have your Chumashim with you, and it should be Chaf Tes Chaf Ches, Parah Chaf Tes Pasuk Chaf Ches. We learned this at the beginning of the week. And we looked at a machlokes Ramban and Rashi in terms of this pasuk, and we're going to examine it and have svara. So the first thing I'd like you to do right now is pause the video. Wait till I finish explaining the directions and then pause the video. But I'd like you to pause the video, and what I'd like you to do is send me a text message right now or an email with your svara as to Rashi and the Ramban's idea. And I'd like you to label it svara number 1, because after we continue playing the tape, I'm going to give you my svara, my explanation as to what the machlokes between Rashi and the Ramban is, and explaining their words. And then I want you to then send me my svara to make sure that you understood it. I can assess whether you really understood what I was saying or not. So first, I'll pause this tape when I'm done speaking right now, and send me your svara as to Rashi Ramban, and label it. Say this is Ariel Gerud, and this is my first svara, my svara number 1, and then tell me the svara. Okay, pause it now. Okay, I'm assuming that we're back on now, and now we're going to look at Rashi and the Ramban. Okay, so the pasuk had said Hanistaros la Hashem Niglos lanu avaninu, right? That the public things are for me and for Hashem, and the secret things are for the people. And Rashi and the Ramban had two very different interpretations as to what this means. Rashi understood that it was an injunction and a command to Beis Din. Beis Din is responsible to punish those that violate the Torah, and Beis Din can only punish those things that they're aware of. So the Torah is saying that you have to, right? The pasuk is saying, Hashem is saying, you take care of those things that are public, the things that are nigle, things that you can know about, you take responsibility for, and you punish those people. And the things that are nistar, that people do in secret, that you have no way of knowing about, so those Hashem says, I will take care of. Right? That's Rashi's interpretation, and Rashi simply says it's the responsibility of Beis Din, and that's what this pasuk is referring to. The Ramban has a completely different take on it. Right? The Ramban says that it's the responsibility of the individual. Right? That essentially that the individual is responsible for their actions. Right, and the things that they do accidentally, that's for Hashem, right? Hashem knows about that, and that we're not responsible for. But we have to make sure that things that we are aware of, we don't violate in the Torah. That's the Ramban's take of it. So it's responsibility of Beis Din, and versus the responsibility of the Yachid, and that's machlokes Rashi Ramban. Okay, what I'd like to do is I'd like to look at their opinions now and examine them and analyze them. So what Rashi's saying, Rashi's really talking about the idea of communal responsibility here, the role of Beis Din, right? What's Rashi in essence saying? Rashi's saying that it's the responsibility of Beis Din to carry out the punishments, right? We have a concept called Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh, that all of Bnei Yisrael are responsible one to the other. Right? That's the idea of Beis Din. Beis Din is the court system. It's the court. Like any society has a court. So the Jewish people have a court. We have a court. And when we were in control of our own land, the court was run by the rules of the Torah. Now, that might seem strange that the rules are according to the Torah. While it makes sense to have a judicial system, we have to have police officers. That's earlier in the Torah we learned about Shoftim v'Shotrim Titein Lecha, that you should have police officers and the court system and judges inside your gates, meaning that your land has to have a police force. And that makes sense, because what are you going to do if there's a robber, if there's a murderer, right? And if there's a kidnapper, you have to arrest these people. You have to stop them from doing wrong. What's interesting, though, is that it's not just civil and damage laws that apply to Beis Din, but there's something else that applies, that Beis Din has control over. Beis Din has control over religious law as well. In other words, in America we have separation of church and state. So if somebody violates religious law, the courts aren't going to do anything. A police officer sees you violating the Shabbos, he's not going to arrest you. But that wasn't true in the time of Beis Din. Right? At the time of Beis Din, that it was the Beis Din's responsibility to ensure that you didn't sin and violate the laws of the Torah. It wasn't just laws that you damage somebody else and you do something wrong against somebody else, but really Beis Din had the responsibility to make sure that you didn't violate any of the Torah's laws. That means that if you were robbing somebody, a police officer would stop you from robbing them, right? They would stop you from the theft, right? And then they would arrest you and they would penalize you. They'd bring you up for trial. There would be witnesses and testimony and the such, and that would be the end of it, right? They would give you whatever penalty you were deserving after having convicted you and after having testimony. But the same thing was true if you were violated Shabbos. Right? If you were violating Shabbos, let's say a police officer is going by your house and he looks inside your house, and what does he see? He sees that you're turning on and off the lights in the house. So in that case, the police officer would come in and he would put you under arrest. Right? There would be witnesses and they would sit there and they would say, hey, do you know that you're violating the Shabbos? And if you do that, you're going to have a punishment, right? It's going to be executed, and this is how they're going to execute you. And then the person would turn around and say, yes, I understand, but I'm going to do it anyway. And they'd flip on the light switch, and the police officers would come in, they'd arrest you, and they'd bring you to trial. The witnesses would testify, and you'd be put up for a death sentence. The police officers in the court had as much responsibility to stop you from hurting other people as they did in order to make sure that you didn't violate any of the rules of the Torah. And that's something novel to us. That's something that requires explanation. Why is it? Why can't you just give the argument? It's not based on responsibility. That's between me and God. I understand. To stop somebody from hurting somebody else, that's a police officer's job, because the police officer is supposed to keep everybody safe. But is it really the police officer's job to make sure that I follow God's law? And the answer is yes, it is. Why? Because the police officer, the whole idea of Beis Din and the courts, their responsibility is to make sure that we live in a perfected society. We firmly believe that a perfected society isn't simply that people don't hurt each other. A perfected society is as such that people are following every law of the Torah. We're the Jewish people. God gave us the laws of the Torah. We're proud of those laws. We live those laws firmly, and we hold by them. Therefore, right, says Rashi, Beis Din has the responsibility, and this is really not just Rashi's opinion, this is the Torah's opinion, right? This is how God set up the system for us, that Beis Din's responsibility is to make sure that all of the laws of the Torah are kept. And that's the idea here. Okay. Now, what about the Ramban? We only have a couple minutes left for the Ramban. The Ramban says that the Yochid, the individual, isn't responsible for sins that he didn't know about. I go into your house and you tell me that this is a kosher hamburger and I eat it, and it turns out it's not kosher. How was I supposed to know? So there's two ways you can look at this. The first way is saying, I didn't know, so it wasn't my fault. So what am I supposed to do? The second way of looking at it is looking at it like the analogy that my Rosh Kollel used to give is that of a doctor. Right? What happens when you go to the doctor? So the doctor says, okay, take this medication. Now let's say the doctor makes a mistake. Does the doctor get penalized? No, you do. You die. You get sick from the wrong medication. That's the second way of looking at it. So an accidental sin, as much as it's accidental, you're the one that took the medication of the accidental sin. And those are two ways of looking at it. How does the Ramban? The Ramban understands it that what you didn't know about, you're not responsible for. So then we can walk away and say that according to the Ramban, right? What does the Ramban say? The Ramban understands that an accidental sin, there's no harm, right? While that's true, there is something to the other side of the story as well. What's the theory to the other side of the story? The other side would say as follows. Hold on, right? What's the other side? The other side is that while it's true that the individual mistake that you made, the individual sin that you made accidentally, there's nothing wrong with it, right? That's true. It doesn't cause any harm. But a constant lifestyle of accidental sin is extremely problematic, right? If I'm always going around and I'm always making mistakes and sinning, right, that's problematic. So it's true. Let's just repeat that very, very fast. It's true. It is true that there's nothing wrong with an accidental sin. After all, it's accidental. At the same time, a person doesn't want to live their life living with constant accidental sins. That's the idea here. So just to review, Rashi holds it's the responsibility of Beis Din, and Beis Din is responsible not only for the civil law to make sure people aren't hurt, but they're also responsible for the religious law. The Ramban says that this pasuk is talking to the individual, and the individual is only responsible for things that they're aware of, that they know. Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to send me another text now. I want this second text to say this is Svara number 2, right? This is like, you can say Rabbi Pilchowski's Svara, Rebbe's Svara, whatever it is. Say this is his Svara, and I'd like you to send me that Svara. So what I should have from you are two texts, I assume very different texts. One with your idea and one with my idea. And I'd like you to send me that by the end of Shir today. Have a great day. I miss you guys.